Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the answers section of the Q&A video. I say that, I am going to also be saying the questions. But I asked for them like a couple of weeks ago now, and I've just been keeping up, and every time someone sent them, I've put them in. I've just rejiggered them into a slightly more sensible order than just, this is when I received them. So they're in a kind of vague order of kind of patterns, I think. Vaguely, not really. Sorry for not doing much uploading over Christmas, but with Christmas and then doing some stuff for uni and binge watching videos and TV shows, I've just not. It slipped from my mind. It's kept slipping my mind because I've just been out of the habit with being on. Well, that's one of the questions. We'll have a look. Let's go through the questions. Number 1. What is the origin of the name Dragonster? I actually can't remember. What is the origin of the name Dragonster? I think I've always liked dragons. I've always really liked dragons. Probably one of my favourite things. I love that kind of myth, that kind of Western European kind of set of myths. Partially because I love Arthurian legend. And so I love that kind of those kind of myths and a lot of kind of the knightly things which often deal with dragons. So I've always adored dragons, and so I think I can't remember what it was. I think maybe I was logging into something or registering somewhere, and you had to pick a username, and so I typed dragon in or something, and it suggested Dragonster. So that's where Dragonster comes from, if you're wondering about the Dragonster 16. I think I was logging on to YouTube, registering at YouTube. Must be 13 years ago now. And I was 16 at the time, so I then picked the number 16. Yeah, that's how it works. Silly things like that. Okay, question number 2. What is your first video gaming memory? The earliest one I can remember off the top of my head was playing on an old Windows 3.1. I'm sure some people think that's not old, and some people think that's ancient. You can't please everyone. Or anyone, in some cases. So when Windows 3.1, and it was the original pixel art, LucasArts, Secret of Monkey Island, and I can't remember how far I didn't finish it. I distinctly remember not finishing it. I think that I could get the sword, and I could start the sword fighting, but I don't know. Did I finish that? I remember certainly doing the insult sword fighting. I can't remember if I got... I think I did. Or certainly I visited the Swordmaster. I think I did... I think I could get the treasure. I met Elaine. I don't think I know... I never finished it. I know that much. I never finished it. But playing Secret of Monkey Island on old Windows 3.1. Question 3. And 4. Why have you not finished Stardew Valley? Will you go back to it? So, why have I not finished it? I think I just got to the end of one season and felt that was a sensible point to just kind of stop. I'd kind of seen how it worked at that point. I think that as far as I understand it, Stardew Valley doesn't have an end proper. But I might be wrong there. I don't think it has an ending. I think you just kind of work and work and work. I probably could do more with it. I don't think it's on my computer anymore, so I don't know if I'd have the saves. So I probably won't go back to that save. But possibly, depending on if people watching this are really interested in seeing me have another go at Stardew Valley, please comment and I'll get to it. But I don't know if I've got the old save. Do I actually? Is it still on? I think I may have uninstalled it. Yeah, it looks like I've uninstalled it. It's not on my desktop. So, possibly. Who knows? Question 5, which is really throwing me off. Question 5. Do you plan on streaming in the future? I plan a lot of things for the future, and whether they happen or not is entirely separate matter to me planning them. Streaming has been something that I have considered time and time again, and I've done it a couple of times. I think it's one of those issues of finding a game that's good for streaming, and a time that's good for streaming and good for me, and not being absolutely shattered at the end of a day. Even over the weekend, like I end up just recovering from the week, and I'm not talking about why, because it's one of the questions that's further down. Yeah, it's a bit difficult. Yeah, it's just finding time and fitting it in. That's kind of the main problem with streaming. I'd like to, but I've got to think about what game to do, and when. Because I can do it. I have done it. It's just various logistical, organisational issues. Number 6. What is your favourite game? That depends on what kind of game you're talking about. If you're talking about role-playing game, like pen and paper, it's probably Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 2nd Edition. To be fair, I think there's only 3 pen and paper RPGs I've played. Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 2nd Edition. No, I tell a lie. For Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 2nd Edition, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 1st Edition, which I don't think is as good, 2nd Edition AD&D, 5th Edition D&D, that's a 5th one, and Agniton with Verix. And as you can tell with my brilliant memories, no one roleplays with the Spanish Inquisition. Probably Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 2nd Edition. It's my favourite. I love the lore behind it. It's one of the things that really bugs me about them killing off Games Workshop. I shouldn't just say them. Games Workshop killing off Warhammer Fantasy Battle, replacing with Age of Sigmar, is you lost so much wonderful lore. I'm really happy that they're the rumours are that they're going, I think they've actually said that they're going to bring back Warhammer Fantasy Battle proper. Which is good, because I don't know why they couldn't have just released the Age of Sigmar as a brand new game. I think they lost a lot of oomph because of that. So that's pen and paper RPG. Board game, that one's a tough one. I really like, because I'm a massive history nerd, I really like a fairly complex game called Here I Stand, which is a game about the Reformation, and it's to do with the Reformation, but it's everything else going on at the same time. So you've got one of the players is Henry VIII, and he's fighting France and the Holy Roman Emperor, and trying to explore the New World and have a son. And then you've got France, who's fighting mainly the Holy Roman Emperor and England. Yay! And allying with Scotland and exploring the New World and trying to build castles. The Holy Roman Emperor is kind of trying to hold on to everything and fight the Ottomans and explore the New World. The Ottomans are just trying to grab what they can. The Pope is trying to prevent the Protestants from growing too much and expanding. The Protestants want to convert kind of most of Europe. All those kind of random bits of history. It's really, really fun. 40-page rulebook, which is a lot of there's a few kind of cases where they go into things with a lot of detail. It's not hugely complex. I mean, for me, I'm saying it. I've got some practice with those kind of board games. And finally, assuming what the actual question was about, which is video games, it is of course Planescape Torment. That's one of those games that I think I've spoken about an awful lot, and I gushed when I played it blind. It was absolutely amazing. I thoroughly enjoyed it because of the role playing, because of the aspect to it. I think the lack of combat. I'm not the best at fighting or strategy in games, but I really enjoyed Planescape Torment. That exploration of philosophy. What can change the nature of a man is a brilliant question, and it popped in my head. What was it? What film? I was watching a film with it in. No, I was watching a film, and that question popped into my head, and I can't for the life of me remember what film it was now. I'm sure I posted it on Twitter. I'll be right back. I'm gonna find my Twitter feed. I'm sure I mentioned it. I'm sure I did. Right, my profile. Scroll. Oh, it was a Christmas Carol. The one starring Patrick Stewart, which I think makes sense. One of the what can change the nature of a man. Because it just hit me, because it does. It's all these things that he's thinking about, and his past memories affecting him, which is kind of similar to Planescape in that regard. Brilliant game, and I'd suggest I'd probably, if you enjoy role-playing games, play Planescape Torment. It's brilliant. Favorite game series? I'm gonna limit myself to video games because I can't think of other series for other kind of board games or pen and paper RPGs. That would be Mass Effect, because there isn't a Planescape Torment 2. Although people say Torment Tides of Numenera is very similar, and I do have that, and I will play it at some point. I will let's play it at some point. Yeah, Mass Effect. That was a brilliant series. That was a brilliant trilogy, and a kind of mediocre Andromeda, whatever that was meant to be. I think that was meant to be another trilogy, but they didn't put enough effort and time into Andromeda. I mean, I don't think there's anything that really competes as a series for Mass Effect. Looking at my list, I have a list of a top 100, which I was originally planning on doing. Like I did this last year as well, where I made the top 100 and was like, oh, I'll do it around New Year, and then just ran out of time, and that happening in this year. I think Mass Effect's probably the big one. I do enjoy some of the other kind of series I've got, like Assassin's Creed. I have enjoyed that, but I think it's just there's not enough consistently at the level that Mass Effect just thrilled me. Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3. Actually, is Andromeda in my top 100? I mean, this is an important question. It is. It's number 70. That's surprising. Probably, I think there's probably more. I think they're probably the Mass Effects probably do better than Assassin's Creed. I think. Looking at it, there's a few there. There's a few Assassin's Creed popping up, but they're a lot lower than 2, 3, and 1. Giving away the order. I love the characters. I love. I think it is one of those things of just like they're well written. If you ignore Andromeda, Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3 are a brilliantly well written trilogy. The characters are wonderful and alive. If you ignore Andromeda, Andromeda is just. It feels so bad. Because it is a disappointment. It is a step down from 1, 2, and 3. And the Mass Effect series deserved so much better. It feels a bit like a sci-fi Dragon Age Inquisition. I think I commented that. I think I commented that in the Let's Play. And I think it had the same problem where there was just... They made loads of open worlds and they just made everything so big. And it kind of hindered the game. Question number N, where N is a number I've forgotten. Favourite football club? I am from Merseyside, as you can tell by my thick Scouse accent, he said, ... sarcastically, ... And so I support Liverpool, because my dad supported Liverpool, and various neighbours supported Liverpool, and so on and so forth. I think that's kind of how people get football teams, or any sports team, it's just like, my family's always supported this team, therefore I support this team. Yeah, so continuing on with our favourites section, favourite television series. That is... right, okay, I'm going to assume it's favourite television show, and not like the individual series within the show. Favourite television series... that is a... I think... If I'd been thinking about this question, like, a couple of weeks ago, I probably would have said... Oh, that is a tough one, actually. I might have said, like, Star Trek Next Generation or Star Trek Deep Space Nine. If you'd asked me this question many years ago, I might have said Doctor Who, but the new stuff just doesn't fill me with a great deal of joy. Oh, there is the Jeremy Brett Sherlock Holmes series. That is an amazing series. If you like Sherlock Holmes, you should watch the Jeremy Brett series. He's a brilliant Holmes. But I've been kind of binge watching Babylon 5 box set, which I got for Christmas 2018, and I've only just opened and started watching, and it is absolutely amazing. And I think when I get through to the end, I might kind of rewatch some of the Star Treks, like TNG and Deep Space Nine, and just like think about them in comparison, because I think I can see Babylon 5 becoming my favourite. And that's not in any way meant as a criticism of Star Trek. I do love Star Trek. I just think Star Trek does have a lot of kind of missteps in it. Whereas I think Babylon 5, partially because of its serial nature rather than episodic nature, it's this continuing building storyline, and that allows you to have like some episodes that really focus on some minor characters or characters that only appear in that episode. They are absolutely amazing. I think some of my favourites so far. I'm still in series 3. I've got 2 more episodes to go. I think like some of my favourites are like late delivery to Avalon, or is it late delivery from Avalon? It might be I think from Avalon. Late delivery from Avalon. Which, if you can't tell from the Avalon, is basically there's an Arthurian connection to that story. Passing through Gethsemane comes the Inquisitor. I think those are my 3 favourite episodes of Babylon 5 so far. Really good, really, really good. Favourite book? Next question, favourite book. This fluctuates, like it depends on my mood. It's either The Lord of the Rings, which sometimes is a bit awkward to get through. Like some parts of it are not the best written. I might be in trouble. Looking at you, Paths of the Dead, being talked about by Legolas, narrated by Net Legolas at the Battle of Pelennor Fields, which is just what? So it fluctuates between that one and A Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula Le Guin. For those that don't know, Lord of the Rings is by J.R.R. Tolkien. Just for those that don't know, which is a brilliant story and kind of veers towards the philosophical in some ways, which is brilliant. I like stuff with philosophy and well-written characters. It's brilliant. Okay, I actually need to read this because I've covered it up with some notes. Next question. Here is our political question. Should Guernsey become independent and remain in the EU? What a question. I think from a slightly more jovial, kind of joking kind of response is like, Merseyside voted to remain too, so we'd like to just split off. Maybe we could avoid the managed decline. I think it becomes a very complex question when you talk about democracy. Which might be you're not expecting a serious answer to this, but I think if you, I probably should have thought about this. If you accept a referendum happening, you have to accept the result. And while I agree there is such a thing as a tyranny of the majority, which is where you have a majority for any reason, in any way, having any kind of power, like the result of a referendum, can result in people who rejected that being hurt or the decision being pushed through without thought as to consequences, and that is what's happening, is people are just blindly ideologically going forward with it, and there's no real thought as to, is this a good deal? I mean, Theresa May's deal came forward and everyone said it was a bad deal, and she kept pushing for it because it was a deal. And similarly, Boris Johnson's done the same thing, where he's negotiated a deal that basically everyone says is worse, but it's a deal and we're pushing for it because tyranny of the majority. At the same time, I don't think anyone would entertain any request from an area that voted in a referendum to leave. People wouldn't be saying, oh yeah, they should become independent. So it becomes kind of complicated. I don't think they should become independent. I mean, whether we should remain in the EU is a separate matter, and don't really want to answer that. But it becomes a very complex. It then makes things very, very complicated. I mean, not as complicated as the whole Northern Ireland issue, but that is a separate issue, and is very complex. And I don't really want to get into that one either. Scotch egg. The next question: Scotch egg or pork pie? I'm celiac, so I can't have either. I'm not a fan of eggs, and I'm not a fan of pork. So even if I weren't celiac, I probably would pick neither. If this is one of those kind of things like you have to eat one, you have to pick one. There's apps. I'd probably pick the pork pie if someone twisted my arm and made me pick one. Not great options. Even if they were both gluten-free. If they're both gluten-free, I might go pork pie. Next question, continuing our food. Tuna or salmon? I don't recall having tuna. Tuna's not really something I remember having. I had salmon, and that was alright. I'd probably pick salmon out of the two. Not only do I have a dietary requirement of being celiac, I also have the dietary requirement of being a fussy eater. So, that's it. I'd probably pick salmon out of the two. Although, fish and chips. That's what I'd go with. Penultimate question. We're nearly there. What do you do for a living / what are you studying? Well, currently I don't have a living. I'm kind of borrowing money to live. Because I am a student, and what am I studying? I am studying teaching. I'm training to be a teacher, so that's kind of why a lot of my time is not my own, because while I'm in school, and then when I'm home, I've either got to do stuff for my course, do bits of assignments, sort out files and things and evidence and whatnot, and then I also have to plan lessons for when I'm doing lessons. The last lesson I did was in December, and I did a remembrance lesson. Brilliant. Brilliantly timed. And finally, what are my top 5 games? And I'm going to stick with video games. I do have a list of board games I could go through, but I don't think that's what people are actually interested in. If you are, I can make a video about that. So, number 5, Mass Effect 3. That is kind of I enjoyed that. I didn't like the ending. I don't think anyone really liked. I think most people didn't like the ending. I think the people who like the ending were people who heard the backlash or saw the backlash to the ending, and therefore had a lot lower expectations of it. I had 3 solid games in Mass Effect of seeing the story and knowing how well they could write things, and it is the most bizarre thing. But I think the Citadel thing, and I kind of preferred the way we had it, where spoilers for those who haven't watched my Mass Effect 3 Let's Play, go and watch it. I'd say I can wait, but I can't. So at the end there, Drake Shepard didn't die. He then went to the Citadel for like a party. Woo! Yay, we won! Kind of moment, which I think kind of fits the story. Although, having said that, I think Shepard dying at the end does fit the story. It's a very bittersweet ending. And I realised that that is kind of what I got from Planescape Torment, and I think maybe that might be why I like it, because it's got a bittersweet ending. But I think that'd be really fun and be really interesting to have had that, because you have, and I think I've already talked about this. I've talked about this a few times. You have in the first section, is that Morden? Because that's to do with the Krogan, or is that the second section? I can't remember. That's annoying. I think it's the Krogan first. And in that section, Morden sacrifices himself to save the Krogan. In the second section, it's the Geth Quinari? Oh my goodness, why can I not remember that? It's Quinari, isn't it? No, Quarian. What's Quinari? Oh, that's Dragon Age. Quarian. I knew it didn't sound right. The Quarian, the Geth Quarian War. And Legion sacrificed himself to save the Geth. So you get to the end of the third section, and it would make sense narratively for Shepard to sacrifice himself to save the galaxy, save the universe, the galaxy. I think that just kind of fits narratively as a focus, but hey. Number 4, Vermintide. It's actually Vermintide. Vermintide. There we go. It's really surprised I've got a multiplayer game this high. I'm not a huge fan of people. So I think having one up here is really good. I don't like private, public sessions. I'd probably play it private. I've played it with Variax a few times. Really enjoyed it. I have had the idea once of trying to let's play it solo. Like, you can't solo it, you have to have bots. And just seeing how far you can get. It might be interesting, actually, to get a group of people together to play that and explore the story as a let's play. There's not a great deal of narrative goes on, because obviously the characters have to be interchangeable. There's 5 characters and 4 people. So you get a bit of banter between them, and that's kind of the extent of the inter-character narrative and story you get. But I think that'd be really fun to do. I'd have to find people. Number 3, The Last Express, which is a wonderful little puzzle game, which is real-time-ish. In that, as you are doing things, the world is advancing. It's not like a point-and-click, normal point-and-click adventure. It is a point-and-click adventure, but it's not like a normal one where things only advance when you solve certain puzzles. No, the game is moving, the game is progressing. You can, in theory, not do anything and just sit and watch people move, listen to conversations. In theory, you could just do that to get hints for the game, or just to explore the story and see what's happening. And I just love that idea. Just because I think that there's so much you can do with that, and I'd love to see more of it. I think they were considering after that, they had plans on doing one on a ship, and like I think Robert Cath goes on a ship or a cruise, and then that leads him to another adventure. But I think Last Express just didn't make enough money, so they didn't then advance it. I'd love to see another game do something similar, using kind of a world that's advancing without you. Even if you don't do anything, the world is still advancing, and I love that idea in a puzzle game, and I'd love to see more of that. I don't know if there's another game like that. If there is, comment, because that sounds fun. Number 2, so we had its younger brother earlier on the list. So this is Mass Effect 2. It's my favourite of all the Mass Effect games. Which is weird, because it's not part of the main kind of storyline, if you think about it. The main storyline is to do with Shepard fighting the Reapers. Mass Effect 2, yeah, you kind of have the Reapers, but most of it is just interacting with your teammates and doing missions, basically, for them. But I think that's kind of why I like it, is because it is about the characters, it's about the narrative, and about their stories as much as kind of the overarching kind of major story. It is a break from the kind of what's going on, but it's this focus, this ship, these people, and really kind of focuses on that. And I think that's kind of, if you think about some of the great TV shows, some of the ones I've mentioned, it focuses on a small group of people and the things that happen to them. And I think that's kind of why I like Mass Effect 2, is that really kind of focus on the various people you have. Number 1, already mentioned this one, Planescape Torment. Right, sorry, someone just barged into my room, because it's not like I have the door closed so that people know that I'm recording or anything. What was I talking about? Planescape Torment, my number 1. Yes, that's where I was, I think. So, yes, I've talked about it. It's a brilliant narrative game. It has brilliant philosophy, just kind of ideas, and I think the other thing that's good about a game that on philosophy like this is it doesn't actually tell you what the answer is. It doesn't tell you what the philosophy is. It just asks the questions, which I think is brilliant. And we go back to my teacher training, that's what they say to do in RE or philosophy or SMSC type lessons, it is about asking the questions and getting people to consider it. And that's the point. That's the point, is to make people think. And that is a brilliant part of it. It is an adventure in a fantasy world. But like the Discworld books, it is something that makes us think about our lives and our world that we are in. And I think that is absolutely amazing. And I love it. So yes, those are my top 5 games of Mass Effect 3, Vermintide, The Last Express, Mass Effect 2, and Planescape Torment. And those are all the questions that I received. So there we go. Thank you for those of you who sent me questions. For some reason, I didn't make a note of your names, so I can't thank you individually, and I humbly apologise for not kind of giving you a shout-out, for kind of engaging. But, yes, it's been fun kind of thinking through these questions, trying to answer them. I deliberately tried not to look at them or think about them ahead of time, just because I think that's more fitting my style of just waffling and rambling and seeing what comes out of my mouth. It's sometimes a surprise to me too. So there we go. I hope that now we're in the new year, even with any kind of more work being piled on me with my course, I hope that I'll have more time to upload and record coming up this year. Again, I apologise for not uploading and not recording as much as I should have done, or as much as I was pretty much required to do this. So hopefully you'll see some more of me, or hear some more of me, as we go into 2020. Thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for watching.